Hello? Hello? Could somebody get me some toilet paper? Oh, thank heavens! I'm in dire need of some toilet paper.
After 15 years of development, Black Mesa is finally done. The winding concrete hallways of the 1998 classic Half-Life are recreated beautifully in high definition. Back then, of course, this tram ride served to both show off the intricate environments and also set the mood. A 5-minute long section with no combat was a bold far cry from other shooters in the 90s, such as Quake and Duke Nukem. One thing absent from Black Mesa, however, is the hazard course. In Half-Life 1 it was an effective tutorial section to teach players certain mechanics in the game. Obviously things like jumping, talking to people and driving trains are things that everyone can do with ease nowadays. Most of the Earthbound sections in Black Mesa are pretty decent recreations of the original Half-Life levels, but there are a few changes. In Power Up, the Gargantua damages the electricity cables, causing the power to go out. This also shows the player a potential weakness of the Gargantua, which comes in handy later. And there's a lot less crawling through vents in We've Got Hostiles.
Well, so much for the government.
At the same time though, On a Rail is cut down in size. What was once a decaying labyrinth that let the player explore is now a much more linear experience. Anyway, let's talk about Zen. Zen, in the original Half-Life, was this cool, otherworldly experience. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. There was a bit too much platforming here and there, and the factory section in Interloper was a bit too reminiscent of residue processing. Black Mesa's version of Zen, however, is a lot more like a fish tank or a coral reef. This just didn't feel like it needed changing. It looked fine in the original, it was very alien. The environments in Zen are pretty varied. Zen now has a swampy jungle area. There is now also a base camp which the Black Mesa explorers were using. At the same time, the length of Zen is padded out to the extreme. Every section feels like it just goes on for far too long. And whilst the platforming is handled a lot better, I feel like sometimes the visibility is very unclear and you don't know where to go. There is, however, this one section where you get chased by a load of gargantuas, and that's quite fun. At some points I wasn't too sure where to go, but I got there in the end eventually. Interloper has this cool Vortigaunt village, though this one vent seems to be a bit out of place with the rest of the aesthetic.
Galanga.
Interloper's factory section starts out like a sewer level. Then it throws a seemingly endless series of plug puzzles at you. Everything just feels needlessly padded out and repeated. It just feels like a detriment to the whole experience. Nylanth in the original Half-Life was far from perfect, but Black Mesa decides to turn it into a bullet hell. It's just not fun whatsoever, and the new model for Nylanth just doesn't have the same vagueness and mysterious look as it did in Half-Life. I feel like parts of Interloper were even training you for the Nylanth fight.
I have recommended your services to my employers.
For the G-Man, they got the security guard voice actor to do a bad G-Man impression. Obviously this is referring to how the G-Man and Barney in the original Half-Life were both voiced by the same person. I feel like they could have got someone else in to do a better G-Man impression though.
Another day, another dollar.
The Earthbound sections of Black Mesa do tend to feel a lot more polished. Like We've Got Hostiles can't be skipped anymore, and neither can Power Up. If only the Zen sections of the game were considerably more polished, and also cut down in size, I feel it would have been a much better experience overall. As it stands, the game feels incomplete, although I feel like the developers are done working on it now since they're calling the latest update the Definitive Edition. Also, the Spaz 12 shotgun can still fire 2 shells at once. What's that all about?